Hey guys, so I'm back for now part two, working on the Merlin Models ATST Chickenwalker. So in part one, I had painted the body, and now I'm addressing the head. And as I started looking at the reference materials, I could see what's going on. Is it looks like in some of these areas I'm pointing out, like right here and here, as well as the back here and there, and then the front right here, that the head was probably cast in resin. And then over time, that paint just started getting rubbed away. And the reason why I'm thinking it's resin is here's a resin part from another model kit. And I started comparing the two colors, and it looks very, very similar. So it's definitely a buttery yellow effect that's going on here. So that means I'm going to have to make my own mixture of yellow and white to get that buttery yellow. And I figured I'd use this part as a reference to get the color about right. I'm not going to get 100% right, but close enough so that it's this buttery yellow. So another area you can see what's going on. I'll get the book here. As you can see it a little bit better here. So you can see, like, you're going to need to tape off to create some sort of angle here, and then a little bit of a line going here. The front, not so much. If I'm looking at it, it's just going to be a matter of just airbrushing a line across and then applying the the masking material on top of those areas there to create that chipping effect. So let me get the book out of the way and bring in the model. So I've started taping off that. So my plan is really to use this, because it's straight lines, it appears. I'll just airbrush it here, and then up here, and then airbrush it in the front here as well. And then just, use that masking material to mask it off. So I think that's a good way to start on this. This has already been primed, so I don't need to worry about priming or painting on non-primed material. The underside, I really can't tell if there's what's going on there. So I think the best approach might end up being just painting that armor gray color and leave it as such. I don't think there's any other stuff going on. I will point out that the pictures also show that these little latches for this, I guess this would be a door, also is missing paint. Again, that buttery yellow is coming through there. And the side here too, I think it's this bottom latch is also missing some paint. So again, that's a good idea, just to, I'll just airbrush those areas with my color mixture. So when I come back, I'll show you the progress I made with this head. So I mixed the yellow, and it came out pretty close to this resin. Good enough for government work anyways. And painted it in all the areas where it is yellow in the pictures. Then I used my liquid latex and applied that to the yellow areas. And right now it's just waiting to come peeling up. In the front here, I mixed a little bit of blue and gray together. So in the pictures, it's not gray like the whole side here is gray. Instead, it's sort of a bluish gray, I guess. So I may end up having to tone it down a little with a little bit of the gray color, the armor gray. So basically what I did is I took this armor gray and then put a couple of drops of blue in there. The end result was this color here. Of course, when you mix something up and you run out of it, getting the color right is going to be a challenge. So let's take these off and see how that looks. Yeah, I may end up, I don't know, it doesn't look too bad. It's a little too bluish, so I might spray a little bit of the armor gray onto it just to tone it down a little. It's to be expected, though. All right. There we go. Yeah. So in the back here, I'll just rub this up. And a little bit of that going on there. Take my tool here. See if I can gently rub it up. It's nice to, sometimes you can use a razor or something like that. Yeah, there we go. So it takes care of that. Now we got some in the back here. A little bit of there. And yeah, that's right. There's only one of those there. One of those there. Now let's see how the front looks. All right. It's there. Why aren't you coming up? Come on. There we go. There we go. Interestingly enough, in the picture, it looks like it's bubbling up in the front too. Or that's what it appears anyways. Yeah, it's close enough for government work. That's pretty good. It's pretty yellow in there. Not 100% accurate compared to the photo, but it's pretty close. And we need to remove a little bit on the side here. We have that going on. They had that going on. Yeah, so my theory is it was painted at one time and then got rubbed off, just handling the model. So I think what I'm going to do is tone down this blue just a little. I'm just going to take a quick pass of the armored gray on this just to tone it down a smidgen. Otherwise, I'll have to repaint it. Fortunately, I got enough of that bluish gray left that I have to repaint it. But yeah, there we go. Looks pretty good. Looks like it's supposed to. So yeah, so I guess the next step is just to tone this down just a smidgen with the gray, and then what I'm going to do is flat coat everything and just lock it in place before I start doing any additional weathering. So I also did the inside of the hatch here. That had to be gray. I think there's a little bit of weathering going on up here. I know there's weathering going on this metal piece here. So I'll have to take a look at the pictures. But once I flat coat it, I think it'll lock it in. It'll look pretty good. Whenever I weather something, I always like to flat coat it first, just to protect that color. And flat coating also allows me to remove the paint if I don't like it. It's easier just to remove it with a brush and water. So that's one of the reasons why I like to protect it. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. And like I said, the underside here, I can't see in the pictures if they got any weathering going on there or if they just left it like this. So I may end up leaving it like that. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how everything's turned out. It would have been nice if there was a little bit more here, but now I got some yellow. I can always touch up if I want to, but this is pretty close. So yeah, so I'm just going to apply a little bit of gray onto this, and then we'll go to the next step of getting the head painted. So this is where we stand right now. So what I did was I used the 1975 foundation, and I really watered it down to the point where it was basically almost water, just colored water, and then lightly airbrushed it on the panel sides. So a couple of areas I hit was here, here, and it looked like it was a little bit going on down here. And then in the front as well, the top area definitely shows it, as well as the side panels here, here, and then underneath here, and then the front down here too. Once that was dry, I then applied weathered black. And I applied weathered black in areas like here, 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 and then actually back here too. And once that weathered black had dried, I then did a really fine watered down coat of the armored gray on everything, just to knock the black back, because it just seemed a little too stark. I also did the same thing underneath the windows here. When I first put the weathered black on here, when I mean watered down, this stuff is watered down. I just used a paintbrush and just did downward strokes on here, and then used the armor gray to knock it back. I did the same thing with these window enclosures. So there's two of them. Again, using just a paintbrush for the streaks. And then I used the 1975 foundation on top of this just to bring it back, because it looked like in the images that this is covered with the 1975 foundation. Another area that needed to be addressed was this hole here, as well as on the railing up here. And what I used the rust, I used the 1975 rust color for those areas. Interestingly enough, it looked like some of the paint had been removed and it was down to the bare metal in a few places here. I may or may not end up doing that. I'm not 100% convinced it was, rubbed off, but or if it was intentional, I'm not 100% sure. But I decided that for now, I'll just put the rust color there, be pretty close to what's going on in the model. So at this stage, I think I've addressed all the areas on the front and sides I want to do. Now I just need to finish up the back here. So I added a little bit more of that color I mixed up in the back here, just to make it look like it was removed. I only had like one spot there, but I also need to do some of the streaking that's going on in the back here. And I think that will pretty much have this done. It'll be at the point where I can then apply a flat coat on it. And I forgot to mention, I need to address these grills in the back. Probably just use some sort of Tamiya. I think I might end up using the Tamiya panel liner black, heading in that direction right now. I think that would probably be the easiest approach, is just use that panel liner and just fill in those areas. And that'll probably, that'll make it look similar to what you see in the picture. I have to take a look at the picture. It could be that each of these are filled in, or it could be that they just use some black and just, painted a brush across it. It's hard to tell sometimes when you're looking at these images. So yeah, this guy's almost done. I think I mentioned I couldn't tell what's going on the underside here, so I'm going to leave it like it is for now. If I do anything, I might apply some sort of rust color on the underside in a few spots. But for right now, I'm thinking I'm heading in the direction of just leaving it like it is, because it's indeterminate based on the images what is going on the underside. Okay, so that's where we stand right now. When I come back, I'll show you what I've done with this, and then what I'm going to be doing with the weapons too. Okay, to bring you up to speed where we stand on the head and the weapons, what I've been doing is using all these paints, like the 1975 foundation, using these as a really thin wash. And then I just airbrush it on. multiple layers until I get it as dark as I want it to be. So for example, I use this 1975 foundation here and here and here, and then down below on here, and then up above the head here, on the top area here, on the sides here as well, and then on the underside here as well. Matching the images that's in my Star Wars Chronicles book. So after the foundation was applied, I then used the weathered black, again, really thin, like this, super thin. And I applied it here where the weapon's going to be, on the top side here, here as well, here and here. And then in the back here, I just use that same consistency and just use a brush to mimic what you see in the images. In some cases, what I found was helpful was to then apply the armored gray. And again, making that a wash and just airbrushing it on top of the weathered black just to knock it back a step. Now, based on the images, up on the railing here, there's a little bit of rusting going on. So it looked like the 1975 rust was the best approach for that. It also looked like the paint was rubbed off a little in a few areas. It's down to the bare metal. But I decided to leave it like it is. So that's where we stand right now in terms of this this back area and the sides as well. Now, for the grill area, I ended up using the Tamiya panel line accent color, the black color, and just applied it in there. I think what they did was they just applied a brush going across. That's what it looks like in the image, but you can't really tell 100%. But I figured, you know, I just want to have like these panel lines showing through in the gray color, and then everything else, the recessed areas in black. Now, as far as the weapons are concerned, it looked like that you want to do a little bit of 1975 foundation on the underside of this, leaving the top area gray. And then this weapon, same deal, 1975 foundation, different, I would say different levels of that color, definitely on the underside, the sides here, a little bit more intense on the top, and the rest of it in the armor gray. Oh yeah, these guys, same thing. Really, what I did here was I used the weathered black and used a paintbrush and just downstrokes this on the top here. And then I used the 1975 foundation, really light coats of that too. Because it looked like in the pictures that that's what's going on this. So it's not totally gray, it's sort of streaky like this. Let's see. Oh yeah, this part here. So this goes in on the weapon right here. So that was something that I wasn't 100% sure what the colors are going to be. So I ended up using the Lark dark gray for that, and I just use a paintbrush to add it here, and then I use some of the armor gray to knock it back a little. Just trying to replicate as best as I could. It looked like there wasn't really anything going on with this, from what I could tell. So I've pretty much left it the colors that you see here. All right, so the head is officially done. So I'm going to flat coat this. The only thing I'm not going to do is, it looks like there's a couple of drops of resin on the back here. it's like an orange resin or an orange glue. I'm not too sure which. I'm going to leave that off because I don't think that was part of the model originally. It might have been something that was either accidentally added later on, but I don't think it was part of the original model. So I'm going to leave that part off. But I think the rest of it's in a pretty good spot right now. And I should mention this blue area here. I actually knocked this back again with a lot more gray just to bring it down because it just seemed a little too blue. So I kind of like where it stands there as well. And I think I mentioned you really can't tell what's going on the underside here. Um, so I've thought about either adding a some type of wash, maybe a rust wash on the underside, but I decided to leave it like it is. I think that is in fact uh, without knowing what the references aren't really showing me what's going on here. I think the best approach is to leave it like it is. In any case, you're not going to see the underside, so I don't think it really matters one way or the other. So I got everything to the spot to a place where I like it. Like I said, I'm going to apply a flat coat now to this and lock all these colors into place. Moving on to the next phase, which is adding grass to the feet. So the image I have up front here, you can see a little bit what's going on where they applied some grass to the toe and to the sides of the feet as well as on the top area. And they did it to both feet. Interestingly enough, they also did it to the parts of the lower part of the leg too. So I'm going to probably end up doing that as well. I'll try to find another picture for you. So you can see in this illustration, we got it on the sides here, and again, two different colors of grass that they're using. And here's another image of it going on. And then probably the best is right here where you can sort of see what's going on in the front and the sides and then the back area. So what I plan on doing is using the scenic cement and then also a couple of different grasses and colored moss. I don't have the same stuff that they used, but I got something pretty close. So I'm going to be using this moss in some of the areas. So it's a nice bright green. Also, I got this grass from Army Painter. And then finally from Stonehaven, I got this color grass too. So I figure a couple of different colors ought to get pretty close to what they got. So it would be applying it to the feet as well as the toe area. So I think I'm going to start basically with the toe first, just to get a feel for doing this. I'll just apply a little bit of this cement on here and put a little bit there, and then maybe sprinkle a little bit of grass onto it. There we go. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. I think I'll add a little bit more on that as well. Try to vary it a little, There we go. And I'm doing it on this piece of paper so I can get most of it back in there. Yeah, that's starting to look similar to what we're seeing in the pictures. So what I'm going to do is continue the process of adding the grass, the moss onto this, and just patch it in different areas and see what it looks like, and maybe try to get it so that it's varied on both the feet, and also I'll have to address the leg. So let's think about the leg a little bit, but pretty much that's the process. Just use the scenic cement and then sprinkle the grass on, let it dry, and and then add some more scenic cement on top just to, have it fit into or adhere to the plastic. So when I come back, I'll show you what I did with the feet. Well, I get all the grass and moss and stuff on here. I also applied it on the legs as well, the lower part of the legs, just to replicate what I was seeing in the Chronicles book. Now, this is not replicating exactly what's in Chronicles, but it's close enough. So I've let this dry since last night, and I think for the most part, it's pretty solid on there. I also applied a second coat of the scenic cement on top of this, just to making sure that this stuff will adhere to the plastic. But it's pretty much done now. So at this point, I have everything done on the model that needs to be done. The only thing left to do is address the base. I've been keeping it on this wood base, so I'm going to move it to the base that came with the model kit, and add the holes into it so that the support will rest on that. So once I get that in place, I'll give you some beauty shots of the model completed. Okay, guys, so that concludes painting the Merlin Models ATST Chickenwalker from Return of the Jedi. Overall, this is not a very difficult model to build. It's actually a fairly simple model to build. You're spending most of your time just screwing parts together or screwing plastic parts onto the metal frame. The only area where you're really spending a lot of time gluing things together is the head here. I didn't find it very difficult to do. And, watching the videos, you can see how easy it is to put together. However, when it comes to the videos, there are some areas where it was 100% clear where things were supposed to go. I watched the video over and over and over again, and I just still couldn't get a sense like where things were supposed to go. So for me, having the Star Wars Chronicles book was a must-have. Once I had an image of where something actually is supposed to be, then it made a lot more sense on where it goes on the model kit. In terms of painting this model, to be honest, I probably could have painted the body with a Tamiya light gray. That's pretty close to this Archive X armored gray. Now, for the rust effects, I ended up using the Vallejo Light Rust. And the reason why I went with that instead of the Archive X Rust is this Vallejo color is much more closer to the actual rust that's in the Chronicles book. So speaking of that rust, I think that's natural rust on the screws. I think the prop was stored in a warehouse where there's a lot of moisture, and over time those screws started to get discolored from rust. I don't think they were rust when the model was actually used in the Star Wars Return of the Jedi movie. I don't think so at all. Now, in terms of having to mix some colors together to get a unique color, I end up using the Armor Gray for these panels. So it's the Armor Gray and Vallejo Blue for these side panels. That's the only way I could get it close enough to that color because there isn't one in Archive X, and I didn't have one in my inventory of colors. The front here and the back, I ended up mixing my own color. So this is like 99% white and 1% yellow. I believe this head, the actual prop, was a resin piece, and over time that paint just got worn off handling the head. Um, so that's what I think this represents, because this is very close to resin model kit parts I have. Now, in terms of unique colors that I could not find an alternative for, the first one is the Archive X 1975 Foundation. I don't have a color like this. It's definitely a very light sandy brown, but this comes the closest to what I see in the Archive X pictures. In terms of the black, the weathered black comes very close too. And I don't have anything quite like this. And I think this is, to be honest, this weathered black, I look at it, it's sort of like a really dark brown mixed with a little bit of black. But I just don't have an equivalent color. Now, in terms of adding the grass to the feet, I don't know. I kind of regret it now doing it. It's not the same as what I saw in the Archive X book. There's no way I could have gotten that exactly the same. So I used what I had, which was moss and grass, and sprinkled it on, and I got something, you know, hey, it gives the idea that it's similar to what you see in the Archive X book. Yeah, so this model was fun to put together. I will say it's pricey. It's no longer available from Merlin Models. So if you plan on getting this, you're going to have to go to a secondary market. And I have no idea if this will ever be available in the secondary market. Most people will probably be like me. Once you get the model, you put it together and paint it and put it on the shelf. But so when I bought it, I ended up getting 40% off on it. And that was the tail end. I think they were just getting rid of the inventory at that point. And so they gave a 40% discount. I would not have paid full price for this. If the alternative was full price, I would not have done it. And that's because given the cost involved, I don't think it's okay. I don't think it's personally, I don't think it's worth it for me. But at 40% off, that was a price point where I decided I got the money, I'll jump in and buy it. With that being said, would I build another Merlin model? Depends on what it is. There's a couple options that they're soliciting feedback on, and I gave my vote on which ones I would probably go with. And I might end up going with that depending on what the price point is. If it's $1,500, the answer is no. If it's under $1,000, I'd consider it. There's models I have in my stash I'm going to be building in the near future that are a couple $100s. I don't mind splurging for a couple $100, but not for $1,500. At $1,500, I expect that the model was already pre-painted and ready to go on the shelf. Not something that I would spend my money building and then painting. That isn't me. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there with a lot of money that would have no problem with that, but that's just not me. The only other thing I will mention that it was a pain in the neck getting this body to the position that it's at right now. I spent an hour, literally an hour, playing around with the legs to get it to the point where it's stable and the head's not going to fall off. All the screws are tight. Would I go in here and start playing around with it and repositioning the legs? I will not. I guarantee I will not. Now that it's like this, it's staying like this. Now I hung on to the box, and the reason why I'm hanging on the box is in case I ever want to box this guy up. I want to reuse that box. It's a nice sturdy box. I'm kind of hoping that I'll be able to modify the foam that's on the inside so that I can put this this model in case I want to box it up at some point. With that in mind, I'm glad that I had taken the time to be able to disassemble this thing. So very little is glued together. So all these guns, so these two guns are using magnets. This one I just insert in here. The hatches on the top here are just inserted in place. They're not moving at all. There was no reason to glue them. I didn't glue them because I was afraid I'd end up breaking them. And then if I broke them off, then it would be a pain in the neck to glue it back on. So I've decided to keep it like it is. The feet are not glued on either. They're just put in place. And the toes here, I did not glue in place either. They're just inserted into the holes I drilled out. Again, and keeping in mind that there's a possibility I could break stuff. So I wanted to make it quick enough that I could disassemble it without worrying about breaking parts. So yeah, this was a fun model. And it's a challenge to paint, and I learned a lot. I learned quite a bit, at least trying to reproduce the ILM painting scheme. So until next time, guys, be safe, and we'll build another model in the near future.
It's alive! Oh, it's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!